Namaha. Welcome to Lesson 2, the Sanskrit alphabet. Now, those of you who are studying Sanskrit just to be able to pronounce, say, yoga asanas or mantras, may not feel that learning the alphabet is of utmost value. However, I'd like to perhaps suggest that the effort that it takes even to learn the alphabet will, as I said in the introduction, go a long way towards creating new neural pathways in your brain, and as I claimed, will make you smarter. So the reason for this is that the ancient seers who came up with this alphabet called it devanāgarī. Now, I don't have anything against Dave and Gary, but it's not Dave and Gary. Maybe the rishis were named Dave and Gary who came up with the alphabet, but it's pronounced Deva. Say Deva. A is long, right? A. It's a what kind of letter is A? A diphthong, right? Something you wear at the beach. A. Deva. Short Then na ga-ri. Devanāgarī. Not Dave and Gary. Nothing against Dave and Gary. Okay? So Devanāgarī is the name of the script we use to write Sanskrit. So this is an example of the script. Devanāgarī is not Sanskrit, it's the script. So we can just as easily write Sanskrit with Roman letters, like Samskrita, right? This is Sanskrit, but it's written in the Romanized transliteration, the Roman alphabet. So Devanāgarī is the script in which Sanskrit is written. It wasn't always so. In fact, Sanskrit has been written in other scripts before, older than Devanāgarī. And what Devanāgarī means is city or dwelling of the gods. So my opinion is some of these rishis who went into a high meditation had a vision, and they went into some other plane, and they saw these symbols and cognized them. Maybe that's why it's called Devanāgarī. In any case, it is worthwhile to learn this script. In fact, there are Sanskrit, and the Sanskrit alphabet is being taught to not preschoolers, secondary schoolers, kids. In England now, it's part of the curriculum because I think more and more scholars and people in education are realizing that Sanskrit has tremendous benefits aside from just learning Sanskrit, that it enhances cognitive function and so on, as I've talked about. Okay? So here we go. Let's take a look at these letters. Now, in your workbook, you have the arrows which point to the proper order, how to write each letter. Okay? And it's the best way to write it. Now, you can write them any way you like, and I'll write them all out so you can watch me do it as well. So this is the letter and the letter A. So when I was first learning this looks like the number 31 to me. So I just imagined 31 apples. 31 apples. Or 31 31 you fill in the word. Whatever. And the long A was simply an added bar. So here's how we write and A. First we write the number 3. So watch my hands. 3. Then up and down. And we're done. The bar on top is always added last. Okay? So let's do it again. We write the number 3. Up, down. Now we're going to write the letter A, add another bar. Voila. Okay? I want you to practice this. We're going to go through all the letters. Your homework today will be to learn these vowels. Okay? Practice them until, say, 10, 15, 20, 30 times each in your workbook until it becomes second nature. And A. Okay? Now, you may ask yourselves, why are they teaching Sanskrit in schools? Is it like Latin? Is it just because it's a dead language? And what's the point? Well, there is an online newsletter called wordsmith.org, and they send out a daily email called Word a Day. And I'm here to say, if you haven't subscribed to them, you should. Great email. They send out English vocabulary words, and they give the etymology. Well, one day a few months ago, the fellow who does it, his name is Anusvara, sent out an email, and there was a word whose root was from Sanskrit. And he said, Sanskrit is a dead language, along with Latin and other Old Norse and so on, the other languages we don't use every day. Well, I took offense to that, because to me, Sanskrit is not a dead language. In fact, you can have a conversation in Sanskrit. To this day, in India, in Benares, if you go to Benares Hindu University, there are actually courses taught in Sanskrit. So I wrote an email back. He wrote me back. We had a discussion. And his idea was that if you can't say words like shoot or, I'm going to the ball game, then the language is not really alive. And while you can say all those things in Sanskrit, I do agree that it's not a common language. So in my mind, Sanskrit is not a dead language. It's a language in samadhi. And it's waiting for its time to come back into the world. Samadhi means in meditation. So it's neither dead, maybe not fully in the world, it's meditating. So it's up to us to bring Sanskrit back into our everyday lives. So how do we do that? By learning the alphabet. Now the letters and a. Is masculine or neuter, and we'll get into the genders in a little bit. A is feminine. So any word that ends with a, more than likely it's going to be a feminine word. Okay? So the energy behind and a is there's an energy of creation to these two sounds. When you see a beautiful sight, a waterfall, you go ah. There is a sense of release and creativity associated with this word, with this letter. So and a are associated with Brahma, the creator, creation. And it's not by accident that the letter A is the first letter of the alphabet. Okay? It's the creative impulse. A is the feminine correlate of that creative impulse. Okay, the next letter is I. I and E. I, E. Okay? And the way we write this is just as with a, down, and something that looks like the number 5. Okay? And then the bar on top. Let's try it again. Short bar down, the number 5, and bar across. Okay? That's the order. The long E adds a little peacock feather. Okay? So that's the letter E. The letter E is associated with Shakti. Shakti, right? Shaktihi. Shaktihi is the feminine. So this is the consort of Shiva, Parvati. This is, there is a feminine wet quality, Indu. Indu is the name of the moon. I has a feminine quality, and many words that end in I are in fact feminine. In fact, all words that end with the long E, well, sorry, not all words. Many words that end with a long E are also feminine. Okay? So, a, I, E. Next is U. U and U. Now, U is associated with Shiva. So if I in E is Parvati, or the feminine, U in U has a masculine energy. Okay? And here's how we write U. Again, starting from the top, U and the bar. Sometimes you'll see it written like this. That's fine. Same thing. Okay? U. And U. U just adds little flourish to this part of the U. Okay? U, U. Again, by practicing these over and over, just writing, just pretend you're back in grade school and you're learning the alphabet, or kindergarten, wherever you learn the alphabet. It's fun. This is fun. This takes your mind away from all the other things you have to do and puts it into kinesthetic reassociation, which again will help to improve your cognitive function. Okay, ooh. Then, here is the uniquely, a sound unique to Sanskrit. This is that r, or ru, that we talked about in the last lesson. So again, this can be pronounced as ru, or re, or just r. Okay? R. Now this one's a little more complex to write, and there's actually a couple of ways to write it. So the way I've written it is a fairly standard way, but there are a couple of alternatives that are in your book, and we'll look at them after we finish with the alphabet. We'll look at alternate ways to write a few letters. For example, can be written in a different way in older Vedic Sanskrit, but usually you don't see it that way. Okay, so now re, there are a couple of ways to write it. The way I write it is just very simple, and it's probably not the way in your book, but that's just how I like to do it. Your book probably says something like this. That's also acceptable, obviously. And it's up to you. Practice, look at your workbook and look at the arrows and see how it's written. The ri, the long r, which is a very rare sound. You're not going to see this very often. In fact, I'm going to box it in just to show you. In fact, these two are also extremely rare. These three sounds you're almost never going to hear. Aren't you glad? 3 less sounds to think about. But you still have to learn them, okay? So practice them, learn how to write them, then you can forget them, okay? So, r, ri, this is the sound lr. It's an L with a r. Now, this was used more in Vedic Sanskrit, the older version of the language, kind of like Middle English or Old English. Lr, say lr, lr, and lri, lri. Difficult to say, so it's not surprising that they were done away with, okay? But they are still part of the alphabet that you have to learn. Okay, and finally, well, not finally, we come up here to A, the letter A. Here is how you write the letter A. Again, starting from the top. You always start from the top down. A, okay? I. A and I. Because this is the feminine. Now, there is a reason I've color-coded these letters. And there is a reason that they're in the same row with each other. That reason is because they all are formed in a certain part of your mouth. And these are called palatals. This I will explore with you in the next lesson as we get into consonants. As we line up all of the consonants and the vowels, you will see how the pronunciation of each of these happens at a different point in the mouth. is the same place as the gutturals. Way in the back of the throat. I is a little bit further north. U, and so on. So I and A, say I, are said in the same part of the mouth. For example, say I, U. That's very different. U comes, you have to use your lips. I is further back, right? And then is even further back. So here is part of the brilliance, the magic of Sanskrit, is that it's organized in such a way that the vowels and the consonants are made in different parts of the mouth. Okay, so I and A are both called palatals, and they both relate to feminine energy. In fact, languages that use a lot of palatals have a, like Italian is Italian, or Italian, if you're from Jersey, is a very feminine language. It's sensual. There's a sensuality to the language. Whereas other languages that are more guttural, that use and are more, there's a Martian quality to them. So I are feminine sounds. So we just learned in I. A relates to Saraswati. In fact, Aim is the bija mantra for the goddess of speech, Saraswati, and knowledge and wisdom. Om Aim Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Aim Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Aim Saraswatyai Namaha. Aim. Now, some people in the West pronounce this I. And Hindi speakers pronounce it A. Or A. The truth is somewhere in between. It's not I. It's I. Saraswatyai Namaha. Tyai. I. Okay? Practice saying that a few times. I. Okay. Then, O and Ao relate to U and U because they're said with, they are labials. U, O, Ao. You use your lips to say them. Okay? And you write O the same way you write except it has a flag. So here is just like right? And add the other bar and a flag. This is O. O. And then Ao is written the same way with two flags. O and Ao. Okay? O and Ao. So for right now, I want you just to focus on practicing writing this alphabet out. And there's two more here. So finally, we have and aha. We've used the vowel to illustrate the Anusvara. The term for this is Anusvara. Anusvara is what students unabashedly call the dot. This is the dot. Well, the dot is technically in Sanskrit called an Anusvara. Anu means after, svara means vowel or sound. So that which comes after the sound is the dot. So don't call it the dot. Call it Anusvara. This one is something you should memorize. Okay? Anusvara. And then the vertical two dots here are called Visarga. Okay? So Visarga and Anusvara. Anusvara closes. It's the ending of things. So whereas is creation, is closure. Okay? So Anusvara nasalizes any sound. It can be over the letter I. So if I put a dot here, what is that? Im. I put it over here, it becomes im. You see? If I put it over the u, it becomes There is a closing, a nasalization. Anusvara closes. Lrim, aim, em. In fact, what's called bija mantras. Bija mantras are nothing but letters of the Sanskrit alphabet that have an anusvara. Bija means seed or dot, and it refers to the anusvara. So the bija mantra for the first chakra is lam, 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 then vam, vam, vam. All of these are those m's are anusvara, okay? Aim is the bija for knowledge and intelligence, okay? It's also the bija mantra for vata dosha. So if you have a vata disorder, you can say Om Aim Namaha, Om Aim Namaha. Okay? The bijas for pitta are Haring, 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 Om Haring Namaha. Okay, so that is Anusvara. And now Visarga. Visarga. Sarga means creation. Vi means dissolution. So this, in Vedic cosmology, these are the two alternate ways to see the final end of the universe. So today in cosmology, scientists still don't know whether the universe is going to rip apart and dissolve, or if it's going to come back and crunch upon itself. These are real issues right now in cosmology and in physics, astrophysics. And they're thinking it's probably going to rip apart because of dark energy. So the ripping apart is the Visarga. So in the Vedic sort of system, they were hedging their bets too. So Visarga means dissolution. It dissolves the vowel that comes before it. So this is say okay? So for example, Namaha, Namaha. That's where the word Namaha comes from a Visarga. If a Visarga comes after the letter E, it'll echo, dissolve the letter E. So Munihi, Munihi, Muni, Muni. Not just Muni, Muni means sage. And you'll hear this a lot, and we'll go over this again and again. But understand that Visarga means dissolution. Sarga, creation. Vi, the prefix vi, means going away from, or the opposite of, or something special. Okay, so I've done a lot of blah, blah, blah so far. Now it's your turn to begin writing out and learning the Sanskrit vowels. Okay? We'll see you in the next lesson. Namo Namah. Okay, welcome back to part 2B, which is the practice section of the lesson. So now I want you to practice actually writing and saying this before we interact in part 2B. But what I want to do is just give you a little bit of practice pronouncing these sounds, okay? So in order to do that, I'm going to add the anusvara, the dot, on top of each letter to help us pronounce them. Because when we add the anusvara, now we have, that creates the mantric value of each sound. So now there is an actual benefit beyond just learning to reciting the alphabet. So, ready? Here we go. Say or without the anusvara, ah, 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 Okay, now I'm going to point to one, you say it, okay? Ready? Ah. Ready? Ah. Ready? Now I'm going to close my eyes. That's kind of in between. Let's do that one. Ah. Okay? Ah. Ah. Okay? Now, these sounds. I with the Anusvara. Im. 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 Okay, I'll point to one. Ready? Im. 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 Okay? Im. Im. I. 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 Say it. I. 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 Ah. Ah. It. That's right, not ah. Ah. E. Ah. It. E. Good. Okay? Next one. U. 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 If we want to make it into a mantra, we add the Anusvara. Becomes um, 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 This is just the longer version of this, right? Only the and the are totally different. Okay, the is not a longer version of but these two are just a longer version. Ooh, 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 e, ah, e, e, it, ah, ooh. Okay? So, ooh, 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 ooh. You know, in French class, there's a sound, U, and they make you stick out your lips, U, and it's between a U and an I. And then they make you say things like la rue, and you have to really exaggerate. U. I want you to try that for these vowels. Really pucker your lips. Ooh. Ooh. Ah. Ah. And by the way, these are Sanskrit hand signals. You know how the Italian, they talk with the hands. Et le français, oui, il parle avec les mains. C'est compris, quoi. Same thing in Sanskrit, but Sanskrit are more flowing. So they say, ah. Say, ah. Ooh. Okay? Ooh. This is the right part of the brain. We got to get that involved, get the body involved a little bit. Okay? Facial yoga. That's what it's called. So, let's add the bindus. Let's say them all. Im, im, There's no rush. It's better to pronounce a word, a long vowel, correctly than to rush through it. Because when you rush through it, the listener will always know that you don't know what you're talking about. But if you take your time and use sweeping hand signals, say say Ayurveda. Ayurveda. It's not Ayurveda. Ayurveda, okay? Now, these are always long. These are called what? Diphthongs, right? So, I, aim, I'm. Get used to this sound. This sound may not be natural to you yet. I'm. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I. Devyai Namaha. Sarasvatyai Namaha. Okay? I. Tasmai. Okay? You may have heard this sound in certain mantras. Very popular sound. Versus this or this, which you'll never hear. Okay? So I'll tell you which one you really need to learn, really need to focus. You really need to learn all of them, but these especially, because these you're going to say every day. They're in practically every word. So, I'm, okay? We did oo. Now, o. Now here's a big thing. In English, where we use a lot of diphthongs, a diphthong is literally a combination of two vowels. In English, when we say this sound, we say this sound here, which should be O, say it. We say O. Really what we're saying is O. Say it. O, right? LMNO. O. So here is what this is, and this is the quality that makes English, especially American English, but also just English speakers, unable to pronounce other languages. Because in Japanese, O is O. It's not O. In Spanish, O is O. Señor, not señor. Okay? Me llamo Simón. Does that sound like Spanish? No, that sounds like gringo Spanish. Me llamo O. And the reason is, there's nothing wrong with it. The reason is we in English say O instead of just cutting it off and saying O. So I want you to practice this now. Say O. Cut off the U. Don't say O. It sounds like a dying animal. O, okay? You can have fun with the language. Why be so serious? So, O. So this sound is the sound O. And I know right now it makes sense to you, but in pronunciation, this is going to come back to bite us, because this is one of the major reasons that we as Americans sound American when we speak any language, because of this O and A sound as well. Well, this is not A, this is It's not O, it's just and this is A. There's no A. A is probably the closest is this, A. O. And then, okay, so let's practice. O, O. 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 Ow. Now, I'm actually not saying that right. I'm saying O. It should be O, because this is a diphthong, and diphthongs are always long. Look at this word, long. If we read this in Sanskrit, or really any phonetic language, a phonetic language means a language in which the letter, as you write it, that's how you say it. That's called a phonetic language. And Sanskrit is the phonetic language. This would be long. But how do we say it? Long. Go long. Ong. It actually, we make it some kind of nasal. I don't even know the characters to represent this. Go long, but it's O, long. So when speakers of foreign language come, they say, I go long, because they're pronouncing it like it's written. We don't have this. So this is the big challenge. I'm taking time to go through this because this is the challenge we face then when we go to their languages, to other phonetic languages like Sanskrit, Russian, English, Slavic, what have you. English is called in linguistics a marked language. Marked languages are different from other languages that of a kind. And a marked language makes it harder to learn that language, but also speakers of that language have a harder time learning other languages. So, believe it or not, even learning this Sanskrit will help you learn Spanish, French, Italian, Japanese, and what have you. Okay? How do you say this? Long. Okay? O, ow. All right? Now, r. So, I'm going to start with this one here. R, r, r. This may be hard for some people if you've never done the little kitten roar. This may be hard. Then you might want to say re, 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 prakriti, vikriti, Krishna. Okay? Re, re, re. Otherwise, we can also say it as ru. Very simple. Ru. Ru. Prakruti. Vikruti. Ru. 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 And this is just a longer version. Ru. Prakru. Ri. Or r. Okay? There are very few words with this sound. Tri or tr is one of these. It's written like this. Tri means to cross over, and that's where our word avatar comes from. Avatar. Avatara means someone who crosses down over. But there are very few words that have this long ri. That's why I've put it in red. Okay? So, r, ru, r, ri, r, 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 ru, r, ri, r, 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 ru, r, ri, r, r. Okay? Then lr, lr, lr. So basically you're saying an L before the r. Lr, 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 lr. And this is lri, lri, lri. Boy, it breaks your jaw, doesn't it? Lri. I can feel my tongue actually building up lactic acid. Lri, lri, lri. So these are almost never. These are even less common than this one. Okay? So let's try this again. A, I, I, r, ri, r, ri, I. Remember, these are both long. I, o, ow. And really take the time to say it. O. Are you saying O? I caught you. O, ow. O, ow. Okay? Now, go. Now let's say them with the Anusvara. Okay? Rim, 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 aim, aim, om. Oh my gosh, this is om. This is how you write om. This is one way you can write om. You may be used to writing om this way, and that is how you write it, but you can also write it this way. Om. Aum. Im. Im. Rim. Rim. Lrim. 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 Dave and Gary. Okay? All right, now please return to your practice. If you haven't mastered these letters in the writing, return to really get them down before we go into the next lesson, and we'll see you there. Namo Namaha.